Hi, I'm Lydia and welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you're brand new to sewing, you are in the right place. This is the first video in my super basics to sewing. Like if you don't know how to plug in your machine, you're in the right place. I'm gonna show you everything. So I started this channel talking about this Singer sewing machine, and so many people commented and said, I don't even know how to plug it in, and I have a sewing machine sitting in my closet and I've never used it. I'm just really intimidated by it. So I decided to start a super basics intro to sewing. And the first thing you should learn is how to use your sewing machine. So we'll get to the harder stuff. In fact, I already have videos on how to thread it and some demos on how to sew stretchy fabrics and other things on my channel. But this series is going to be an introduction to how to use it, and I'm going to reference the manual. I will also link it in the description below. But we will go through that. I'll go through all the items and specs of the machine and different parts so that you familiarize yourself with the machine before you start using it. So this is the Singer MX231, and you'll see it all over my YouTube channel. I was on the search for an affordable machine back then that I could start to do some tutorials with to try to help people how to sew. And this one was a lot more affordable when I purchased it like 2 years ago. It was about $130. And now I've seen it close to $200. But you can also find it used. If you have a friend or a family member who has a machine, you can borrow their machine. You do not need to buy any machine. But I'm just throwing that out there. It's usually about $200 or just under $200 for this type of machine. And there's different models with different colors, but functionally they're all the same machine. One difference is that you'll have a top loading bobbin or a front loading bobbin. And I'm getting ahead of myself because I know this is a super basic. So let me go ahead and flip around and go ahead and show you the machine, okay? Okay, so here's your machine, and I'm going to go over the different parts of the machine that you should know, and you can use this as a reference, but I'm not going to go in that particular order. This is your thread tension dial. It controls how loose or how tight your stitches are being formed when you are sewing. This is your stitch width dial here so you can see better. So this is the tension and this is the width, and it controls how wide, and you can see on the little picture it tells you how wide it's making the stitches. Okay, this is your stitch length dial. So it will show you how long the stitches are. And the little picture is very helpful. It shows a smaller stitch turning into a longer stitch. And also it changes to different stretch stitches, but I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so tension, stitch width, stitch length. You'll use those often. Okay, this little lever right here is the reverse lever. So when you're sewing this, you push it, it'll go in reverse for you. Okay, and this is your stitch selector or stitch pattern selector dial. And basically this has a little dot right here. See that little dot? You line that up with whatever stitch it is that you want to use. And I recommend always going in a clockwise motion on that. Okay, and let's see. Back here is your take-up lever. This right here. It raises and lowers your presser foot, and this is your presser foot. So this right here This is the presser foot. Okay, and these are the little feet that you change if you're doing different things. Like there's little zipper feet, there's a buttonhole foot, different little feet can help you perform different tasks on the machine. Okay, so this is your little accessory tray. When you buy the machine, it comes with its little accessories in there. But you take this off, and this gives you a free arm. It's called free arm sewing, and you can sew things that have a small circumference, like sleeves, for instance. So this is your throat plate. Okay, and then this in here these are your feed dogs. These are the little teeth that pull the fabric underneath and basically propel the fabric so that you sew on it. Okay, those are your feed dogs. I don't see feed dogs even mentioned on the manual, actually. But that's what those are. And what I call throat plate is also known as needle plate. They have it on here on number 6 as a needle plate. Okay, so this over here is your hand wheel. And this, you always want to turn towards you, and it will hand crank the machine for you. So this moves the needle up and down. Okay, so this right here, if you see this right here, this right here is the thread take-up lever. It moves the thread up and down. Okay. Okay, in here you have the bobbin. Okay, this is a front-loading bobbin. And these, in my opinion, produce the best stitches. There's a reason why Bernina still makes these, and most, like all industrial machines usually have these kind of bobbin. So this is the casing, and this is the actual bobbin with the thread in it. And I'll go over how to do all of this and thread it later. But these are the components. Again, this is the bobbin casing. This is the bobbin. And it's briefly described in another page. It's not even on these pages here. There. Tells you how to insert it, but yeah. So this is a standard class 15 bobbin. And the machine comes with a few. Okay. This over here is a thread cutter. So when you're sewing, let me put this little thing. These little presser feet are really cool because they just snap on. So they're easy to change. So again, the thread cutter cuts your thread. Okay. And let's go ahead and look at the top of the machine. This is where you wind your bobbins. And it is numbered for you So when you thread it, you know how to thread it for the bobbin. It's a little different than the actual machine. Okay, so here you have your spool holder, this little guy. And this is your horizontal spool pin. Basically, it's just where you put your thread. And on the manual, they say they want the thread coming over from the back. And I don't think it really matters, but there you go. By the way, you can get these big thread spools on Wawak, and they're a great deal. Okay, so this is the bobbin thread guide, and this is the bobbin winding spool. And this is the stopper, because when you wind your bobbin, you're gonna move it over, and then it'll wind. And then once it comes to a certain thickness, this stops, signals it to stop. It basically just won't keep spinning anymore. Okay, so those are your little components on the top. Oh, and this is your buttonhole button, right? And then this is your automatic threader, needle threader. Okay, cool. So the machine also has a really nice little handle, so it makes it nice and portable. There's that. And over here, you have your on and off button. So 0 is off and the 1 turns it on. Okay, so make sure it's off before you plug it in. And here you have your foot pedal and power cord. So it's all part of one. And I have mine plugged in. Let me unplug it. Right, so here's how you plug it in. Your power cord and foot pedal are attached together here. So you take this and again, make sure it's turned off. That's just for your safety. Safety first. Okay, so you plug this into the sewing machine like that. Okay, and then you take the actual plug and you plug this into the outlet. Do you need to see that? You need to see that? Okay. Okay, so you take your power cord and you plug it in. Okay. All right, so once it's plugged in, you can turn her on. That turns on the light. Okay. And this is your foot pedal. If you know how to drive, it's basically like driving. The harder you press on it, the faster it goes. And you notice that the needle bar isn't moving. It's because I had switched that over for bobbin winding. Now it'll move, and it looks like I have it on a zigzag or a different stitch. So let's move her to straight stitch. Okay, I want to show you something else, but I'm going to turn her off for this because I'm going to show you the needle clamp. And that is this right here. You turn it towards you, and most of what you do on the machine, you always want the needle in the highest position. So I pull this towards me and I'm taking the needle out. And the other thing about the needles always go with the flat side towards the back. Okay. All right, so I took that off so that I can show you how the presser foot works. Okay, so if you know how to drive, it's very similar. The harder you push on the pedal, the faster it goes. Okay, and in fact, let me turn it on. Now that the needle is out of there, we can go ahead and play with this. So I'm going to push it. let go a little bit, and then go a little harder. Goes a little faster. You let go. The harder you push, the faster it goes. And you can let off the speed. And this is something you can practice with your foot, obviously, or your hand if that's how you want to do it. But you practice that with your foot. Because you don't want to have something you're working on and all of a sudden have it take off and completely ruin what you're doing. So pedal control is very important. Someone specifically asked me how to do that. So a lot of these basic things you take for granted when you've been doing this for so long, but if you have any questions and if I've gone too fast or if you want me to slow down on anything, please let me know. But that basically covers all of the components of your machine. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thanks for sticking with me and watching my video. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment and do all that YouTube magic so I can keep making these videos for you. So comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and happy sewing. Bye.